G'day art adventurers and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be trying out AQUABORD for the first time. If you don't know what AQUABORD is, and I didn't until recently, it is a chipboard-like backed product with a surface that's covered in a treated clay, and it really does feel like cool clay with a bumpy, very bumpy rough texture on the front of it. You can pause the video and read about it there if you like. But basically, it says that you can paint watercolor paints on top of it and lift and glaze them as much as you like, and that it's also archival. But from watching another YouTuber use this product, I decided to trace my image onto the board. If you try to sketch onto it and erase it, you can damage the delicate clay surface. And from also watching another YouTuber, I really recommend that you fully wet the whole surface before you begin to paint. When you wet the whole clay board, little bubbles appear, and that would have disrupted your paints if you had have started to paint directly. So trace an image on and also wet it fully. Those are probably the two biggest tips that I can give you if you want to try out this product and you don't know where to start or you haven't used it before. So if you think of anything else that you would like to know about it, you can ask me in the comments below. But for now, I'll talk a little bit about the painting itself. And I've chosen Kookaburra to represent my original nationality. I'm an Australian, and these birds, the Kookaburra, are really common in my home country for a large part of Australia, but particularly along the eastern coast from my memory anyway, and that's where I come from originally. And you can't really miss these birds because their call is incredibly loud and very distinctive. The laugh of the Kookaburra is something that's really synonymous with the Australian bush, and there is songs and nursery rhymes and all sorts of things that make it part of the Australian culture. But I'll include the call of the Kookaburra right at the end of the video. The only other fact about kookaburras that comes to mind is that the kookaburra is a kingfisher. It's a bird in the kingfisher family, and maybe one of the largest or the largest kingfisher on Earth. Okay, and let's actually now talk about the painting process itself. I didn't find it too different than working on watercolor paper, but there were some differences. The paints flow across the clay board or AQUABORD surface well, but they seem to also be sinking in, and that might be to do with the rough texture of the board. It just feels like a fairly smooth sort of sandpapery or gravelly texture. But the amazing thing is that you can go back and lift and change your painting quite a lot, even almost getting back to pure white. I think on the advertising it says you can lift back to complete white. I don't think to total white again in some cases, but I got very close even after lifting dark paint, which was really quite surprising. And so it seems that this surface or this clay board or AQUABORD is really quite a forgiving medium. And if you're new to watercoloring and you're scared of making mistakes, it could be a really great idea to try out this AQUABORD. It is a little pricey though, so I would probably recommend doing some practice studies on some cheap watercolor paper first, and then once you're getting a little bit more confident and you want to try a more finished piece, then move on to the AQUABORD. Myself, I'd probably recommend practicing or painting for a good few months before, if you're a complete beginner at watercolor, before you switch to trying out this AQUABORD. But of course it's completely up to you. But myself, I've been painting for about 6 years now, and even I got nervous and stopped messing with the painting after about this layer for the background. I was really happy with how the background was looking at this point, but I didn't know what would happen if I kept on using the AQUABORD more. So I decided to leave it at that point and then just touch up the trees and the Kookaburra itself. And that worked out well for me. I was really pleased with the result because I did want a bokeh kind of background, a blurred sort of background with the Kookaburra being the object in focus, as along with the branch that it's sitting on. And so I put more detail and time into those elements, the bird itself and the nearest branch, the branch that it's sitting on. I was really happy with how well the paints layered on top of each other, and I didn't seem to reach a point where the AQUABORD wouldn't take any more layers, so that was also really great. I've also tried some new editing techniques with my editing software during this video, especially using zooms. So I'd love to hear if you like that more or if you found it more annoying, but hopefully it's allowing you to see some of the detail work a little bit more clearly, especially when I've shown close-ups of the feathers and the eye and those sorts of areas. We're almost at the end of this video, so if you've enjoyed watching me paint this little kookaburra, I'd love if you could take the time to give me a like or subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are interested in trying out something new, I can recommend the AQUABORD. It's definitely an interesting experience to paint on. Oh, and I'll also leave you with the call of a kookaburra to finish. So I'll see you guys soon for another art adventure. Bye!